All right, welcome, fellow investigators. Today, we're cracking open a very exclusive prospectus for an institution that sits right at the intersection of knowledge and pure madness. Yep, we're talking about Miskatonic University. We're about to dive into its secret curriculum, the one that's designed to give your characters the edge they need to fight the darkness, without, being completely devoured by it. So let's jump in. This is the classic problem in any cosmic horror game, isn't it? How do you build a character who actually knows enough about the Cthulhu mythos to be helpful, but hasn't already gone completely off the deep end in the process? It's such a fine line to walk. Well, it turns out the solution has been hiding in plain sight this whole time on a quiet little campus in New England. So let's take a little stroll through the hallowed and, let's be honest, probably haunted halls of Miskatonic University. This is where we'll find a structured way to get our hands on that forbidden knowledge, but it's going to cost you. At first glance, Miskatonic is the absolute picture of Ivy League respectability. It was first mentioned by H.P. Lovecraft way back in 1920, and he presents it as one of America's oldest and most prestigious colleges, right there in the fictional town of Arkham. It's got the whole package: sprawling campus, long history, a reputation that rivals the real-world big boys. It's the kind of place you'd expect to find future senators, not, haunted professors whispering to things in the shadows. And yeah, if you were to pick up the official course catalog, everything would seem perfectly normal. You've got your standard, respectable fields of study, right? Archaeology for the adventurous types, medicine for the geniuses, its program is even in Herbert West Reanimator, and of course the ever-practical business and law. Heck, even a department like medieval metaphysics sounds more quirky than dangerous. This is the face Miskatonic shows the world. But we are not here for the official tour. And this is where that respectable facade starts to crack, the Orne Library. It's famous for its collection of arcane and occult books, and its crown jewel, as multiple stories confirm, it's one of the world's few surviving copies of the Necronomicon itself, sitting right alongside other forbidden books like the Book of Ibon. This isn't just a library. It's practically an arsenal of forbidden knowledge, all locked away in special collections, and it is the key to our entire unsanctioned curriculum. Okay, now for the good stuff. The courses that you will not find in any prospectus. This is the Unsanctioned Curriculum, where tuition isn't paid in dollars, but in sanity. This is where your investigator gets their knowledge and their scars. So our first little elective here is MD Met 401. Sounds like a really advanced, kind of boring theoretical math class, right? But read that description again. Traversing the boundaries between spheres. This isn't about triangles, people. This is about understanding the impossible angles of our lay and the pathways used by things that walk between worlds. This is the kind of knowledge that fundamentally breaks the human mind's understanding of reality. And here's how we can translate this into actual game mechanics. Just imagine your character failed this course. They didn't master it, they just barely survived it. For that trauma, they get 5 points to their Cthulhu Mythos skill. That's their understanding of the big cosmic horrors. But it comes at a cost. They lose sanity, their mental hit points, equal to a D4 roll. And that final exam, it wasn't a written test. It was a practical demonstration. Just think about what that implies for a second. Next up, we've got a course for the linguists and historians in the room. A and PCR 350. And again, it sounds totally harmless. A deep dive into some ancient languages. But we're not talking about translating old shopping lists here. We're talking about analyzing the phonetic vibrations of ritual chants that were designed to do things you really, really don't want done. This is about learning the sounds that echo in the empty spaces between the stars. You can see the danger is starting to ramp up here, right? The required text is actual fragments from the Book of Ibon, pulled straight from the restricted section. And the final exam, you have to recite a word, out loud. What do you think happens if you mispronounce a single, tiny syllable? For surviving this class, your character gets another 5 points of mythos knowledge, but the sanity cost is higher now, a D6. You learned something, sure, but you also heard something whisper back. And finally, for our postgraduate students, we have the capstone course in Cosmic Dread, Zoo 525. I mean, the academic language here is just bone-chilling. Cellular plasticity, multiform protean life. This isn't biology. This is an attempt to scientifically classify something that is fundamentally unclassifiable. It's staring into a microscope at a piece of flesh that is staring back at you with 1,000 newly formed eyes. This is the high-risk, high-reward elective. The stakes are massive. I mean, just look at that character cost. A huge jump of 10 Cthulhu Mythos points, but a devastating potential loss of 2d6 sanity. Your character didn't just fail an exam here, they survived an encounter. That live tissue sample in the final, well, it probably didn't stay on the slide. This is the course that creates that haunted, jumpy expert who knows exactly what that bubbling sound coming from the dark is. So here's the crucial takeaway. Each one of these failed courses gives you a story, a narrative reason for your character's knowledge. It's not just some number you wrote down on a character sheet. It's a memory. It's a nightmare. The knowledge you gained as a weapon, for sure, but the price you paid is a permanent crack in your character's soul. They understand the enemy because a little piece of the enemy's world now lives inside their head. So, how does any of this actually help you at the gaming table? Well, let's see how we can turn all this academic trauma into a seriously powerful tool for survival. This famous line from the Necronomicon just sets the stage perfectly, doesn't it? The knowledge you get from Miskatonic isn't about the past. It's about a present and a future that is constantly trying to break through into our world. And sometimes the only thing standing in the way is a half-remembered lecture from a class you flunked. Okay, let's put this into practice. Picture this scenario. Your character is an archaeologist. On their character sheet, under their backstory, you've written down, failed AMPCR 350. Now, your whole group is stuck, facing the sealed gateway. Nobody can read the runes. But then your character gets the sudden flash of memory, the sweat on their brow during that final exam, the absolute terror of reciting that word, and the one specific glyph the professor circled in bright red ink on their failed paper. They don't know the whole language, but they remember their mistake. And that mistake is the key. It reveals the one flaw in the ward. And that's really the beauty of this whole concept. Your character's backstory is no longer just some flavor text. It's a real, tangible resource. The very academic failure that cost them their sanity becomes the reason they, and maybe their entire party, survive. Their greatest weakness becomes their greatest strength. We've reviewed the curriculum, we've seen it in action, and now it's time for your final exam. It's time to decide what forbidden knowledge you're willing to pay for. So, I'll leave you with this final thought. What unsanctioned course did your investigator take? Was it cryptobotany, studying the fungi from Shoggoths? Maybe esoteric chemistry, analyzing the color out of space? Think about that one academic trauma that defines them, that gives them the specific insight they need to face the darkness. What course is your investigator most likely to fail?